Without fail, every season of anime comes with their wildly popular standouts, their mid-tier, and their underwatched gems. Babylon falls firmly in that last category, clocking in at only the 18th most popular show of the season so far and not even cracking the top 70 of the year. And frankly, for an anime that's been as strong as Babylon has, this is criminal. From the very first episode, Babylon has been a psychological, tense, and thrilling ride, one that's had me on the edge of my seat for the entirety of the journey so far. In fact, I'd even go so far as to argue that it had one of the best debut episodes of the year overall, rivaling those of both The Promised Neverland and Astra Lost in Space. That first episode wastes no time throwing you into the fray, fully immersing not just the characters but also you in the dark and gritty world that Babylon masterfully crafts. The story takes place in the Shiniki district of Tokyo, where our main character Seizaki Zen is a public prosecutor. Shiniki was created as an initiative to allow for an experiment in a more autonomous governing style, with its citizens still electing their own representatives, but not being bound by all of the same laws and regulations that a normal citizen of Tokyo might face. Because of the leniency in the legal system in Shiniki, politicians have the opportunity to introduce laws that would likely never see the light of day in neither Tokyo nor the world in general. The series kicks off with Seizaki and his assistant Fumio investigating a pharmaceutical company suspected of falsifying research on their newest drug in an attempt to get it to market faster. However, what seems like a cut-and-dry case becomes more suspicious when they find documents stained with blood, hair, skin, and strange writing scrawled across it. These files send Seizaki down a dark road, and the more he investigates, the harder it becomes to find the light at the end of that tunnel. He's thrust into an interconnected plot of political corruption and mysterious deaths, where he begins to question everything he knows about his reality, who he can trust, and just what exactly justice and evil are. Because of the nature of the story being told, many other thought-provoking questions are tackled as the show delves further into madness. Seizaki isn't just faced with the questions of what justice and evil are, but beyond that. What does it actually mean to be evil? Can committing evil acts be just? Is there ever a justification for suicide? What are right and wrong? Can justice exist without evil, or are they entirely independent concepts? How can one's morals shift when being confronted by those concepts? In Seizaki's relentless pursuit of justice in the face of unrelenting evil, the world as he knows it crumbles before him, and the line between justice and evil becomes more blurred than ever before. As that line becomes blurrier and events rapidly spiral out of control, Seizaki's initially stoic demeanor crumbles, and we as viewers experience a piece of that pain too. Watching a normally calm and collected detective descend into hysterics and plead for mercy as he's repeatedly mentally broken can be tough to stomach, and after one particularly horrifying sequence, I myself couldn't do anything but just sit there speechless. Of course, this strong emotional response wouldn't be possible without a correspondingly strong performance from Seizaki's voice actor, and I'm happy to say that he completely delivers. Seizaki is played by Yuichi Nakamura, who you may recognize as Tomoya, Tsukasa, Gray, Nozaki, or Moomin Rider, and he does a fantastic job of pulling out Seizaki's emotions in the moments when it would be most impactful. In sharp contrast to his normal stereotypical detective voice, you can practically feel the anguish in his screams as he witnesses friends be snuffed out, hear the cracks in his voice as he desperately pleads for the antagonists to show mercy, and sense his rage as he confronts those responsible for all of the chaos spreading throughout the city. But Seizaki's character and Nakamura's performance wouldn't be nearly as impactful without somebody standing against them to break them down, and Babylon has exactly that. Magase Ai, a mysterious woman who no one can seem to get a read on. She wields an extraordinary ability to manipulate people, always wreaking havoc on those around her and serving as an example of pure, unadulterated evil. She acts as a foil to Seizaki in every sense of the term, toying with him at every turn and striking when he least expects it. She probes Seizaki's morals and makes him question his own beliefs, relishing the chance to make such a straight-laced enforcer of justice begin to doubt himself. Her unrelenting and chaotic nature are perfectly captured by Satsuki Yukino, who you may recognize as Kana, Tai, Shion, or Kagome. Her time spent suffering as Shion and Higurashi must have left an impact on her, because she brings in that psychotic edge that you would expect from a character like Magase. Her voice acts as a double-edged sword, at times sweet and seductive, encouraging strangers to do her bidding, and at other times passionate and unhinged, taunting Seizaki and his team as she continues to stay one step ahead of them. Her voice practically drips malice as she torments our protagonist, and even just as a viewer, the emotion that Yukino manages to bring into Magase's character makes me feel uneasy whenever she appears on screen. Other characters react the same way, with no one able to remain calm when confronted by her, because everyone knows the evil that she's capable of committing. Though Babylon is very much the story of the clash between Seizaki and Magase, the other characters are also well crafted and feature similarly strong performances. My particular favorites are Kijuin, a confidant to Seizaki, Sekiro, another assistant to Seizaki, and Itsuki, a mayoral candidate. Kijuin offering new perspectives to Seizaki, Sekiro's slight but noticeable character development, and Itsuki's frightening ability to motivate the people all do a fantastic job of fleshing out the cast with interesting characters and further contribute to my enjoyment of Babylon as a whole. This complex yet intense story, interesting characters, and strong voice acting performances are all tied together under some genuinely amazing direction, which came as a big surprise to me if I'm being honest. The director behind Babylon is Kiyotaka Suzuki, who also directed Psycho-Pass 2, which myself and many others consider to be inferior to the original series. On top of that, the studio behind Babylon is Reveroot, who is incredibly new to the game, with this being only their second series. Yet somehow, against all odds, everything has been on point so far. Babylon could very well be Suzuki's redemption story, and if it continues this quality, be the anime that gets Reveroot on the map for future adaptations. So, sure, I can say all of that, but what actually makes the directing and overall production so good? I'm no film buff, so I can't go into too much detail on these things, but there are a few notable things that I picked up on while I was watching. One in particular has been the usage of visuals to convey all sorts of different messages, tones, and emotions. At times, the aspect ratio will change to draw focus to a specific character or action, or to indicate that the event is being talked about from a different time. This was particularly strong in the interrogation scene in episode 2, when the rapidly changing aspect ratio and usage of jump cuts kept me uneasy as the characters philosophically dug further into each other and the conversation derailed. In addition to the aspect ratio, Suzuki seems to be a fan of meshing two views into one to indicate a contrast between two characters, or of splicing together a horrifying torture sequence with a shot of a family happily spending time together to shift tones. This back and forth between pleasure and pain not only again reinforces the themes of contrast and duality that he so often seeks with Babylon, but also does a great job of indicating to the viewer that no one is safe. This family may be happily spending time together now, but could they become a target later on? The shot composition really makes you think about how the events are connected. Is it foreshadowing? Is it a red herring? Is it meant to be taken literally or figuratively? Babylon constantly keeps you on your toes and asking questions, and that's exactly the type of directing that I want to see from a thriller like this. Furthermore, Suzuki also uses a lot of out-of-frame action. Scenes where you can just barely get a glimpse of what's happening, but infer how horrifying and impactful it is without actually needing to see the full picture. Finally, there are other interesting visual components that occur occasionally to emphasize certain elements. For instance, this black and white shot showing just how utterly isolated Seizaki is in this scene, or the use of close-ups to immediately convey the strength of emotions the characters are feeling. All of these elements combine to create a captivating atmosphere. Not only do I feel like I'm part of Seizaki's investigation unit trying to solve the case, but I also feel the same emotions the characters do as they're put through all sorts of painful trials. But what I find to be even stronger than feeling involved in the story is the incredibly powerful sense of tension permeating every aspect of Babylon. Building on top of Suzuki's directing and contributing to that atmosphere is a soundtrack from Yutaka Yamada of Tokyo Ghoul and Vinland Saga fame, whose usage of electronic elements, strings, and soft whispering manages to elevate an already intense show to new heights. It's rare that I watch something that pulls me into the degree that Babylon does, but just watching the show makes me feel engaged yet uneasy, tense yet curious. It's the episode that I look forward to most every week, and this is due majorly in part to this thoughtful and phenomenal directing from Suzuki, where every shot feels like it has a purpose. To put it simply, Babylon is incredible. It's a dark, mature story that asks some interesting questions about morality and makes you think about the relationship between justice and evil, between right and wrong. The overarching plot is engaging and filled with mystery, and watching the characters struggle to move forwards in this harrowing journey is both intense and thrilling. Suzuki's ability to masterfully pull together the visual metaphors, sound design, plot, and characters has created a genuinely captivating experience that anybody who enjoys not just detective and mystery anime, but anime in general can find something to appreciate. I truly believe that Babylon has the potential to be not just anime of the season, but a contender for anime of the year, and I can't wait for it to return for the final arc in late December. But enough about me. What did you think of Babylon? Be sure to let me know in the comments below or on Twitter @JDefenseAnime, because I'd really love to keep talking about this show. If you liked this video and want more like it, then go ahead and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter for random anime and manga takes, memes, and info on upcoming videos. And as always, thanks for checking out my video, and until next time.